Good evening and welcome all of you to the panel discussion on the role of QA in the post-COVID era, led by the Colombo Quality Camp. To quickly tell you about the CQC, also known as Colombo Quality Camp, we are a platform that hosts quality engineering related events and share knowledge. We have held several events in the past and we are available in Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Thus, you can follow us for updates. And in the event, if you need support to host an event, you can just contact us through any of our channels, and we are more than happy to help you. All right, back to the panel discussion. We have two panelists joining us today, Janith Gunasekara and Sisira Kumara, and our moderator will be Tharindra Jayamaha. To give you a glimpse about our speakers before we start off with, Janith is the Director of Quality Engineering at Sysco Labs, is having more than 15 years of experience in the industry of quality engineering, and he has been a speaker in many conferences, sessions, and meetups on various quality engineering related topics. And our next speaker, Sisira, is the head of QA at London Stock Exchange Group Technology, is having over 20 years of experience in the areas of system engineering, software development, project management, and quality assurance. And he had been a speaker in many of the events and had been a lecturer in many universities as well. And our moderator, Tharindra, is the architect quality assurance at 99X Technology, is having over 12 years of experience, and he has provided leadership in many initiatives, including the SLASCOM Quality Forum, and is one of the co-founders of Colombo Quality Camp. So without taking much time, I will hand over the session to Tharindra to continue on. Over to you, Tharindra.
Thank you very much, Upeksha. Hope all of you guys can hear me properly. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Janith and Sisira. Hope you guys can hear me.
Good evening, Tharindra.
Good evening, all. Good evening, Tharindra.
Nice to see you after a long time, I think, at least over a video conferencing, though we could not meet in person. Due to the current situation, we are not able to meet frequently as we did before. So today we are going to talk about the role of QA post-COVID era and how the role of QA got changed over the new normal. So if I describe you the format of the program, we will be having a discussion around 3 key points where Sisira and Janith will be sharing their experience on how they addressed those matters in their and their recommendations and suggestions to the audience in addressing those issues in their different diversified teams. However, in between you, if you come across any issues or any questions, any clarifications, feel free to raise them under the Q&A sections. You might have seen it, and we will be picking few of them after each key point that we are going to discuss. So let's get back to the topic. The current pandemic has rattled most industries and their business globally, posing threats to the business continuity. It's inevitable that every industry is challenged by influences stemming from the social, economic, and logistical changes caused by this pandemic. IT industry is one of those industries which had to be changed the way that they worked in order to get adjusted to the situation and continue the deliveries without any impact on them. The new normal, the new word that we have learned under this situation, the new normal world has created 3 sets of immediate changes for every delivery team in software industry. One is that it required an immediate change to well-established ways of working. Most notably due to the forced remote working, so the daily routines and face-to-face communications and changed in both obvious and more subtle ways. I still can remember the last day that we worked at office. That was a Saturday that we had to work for a kind of a release that we had on at the end of March. So we thought of coming to work on Monday, but we could not come because due to the curfew which was imposed on Monday, so nobody could come back to office and we had to work from home. So after that, we had no physical interactions. Everything had to be done via Skype, MS Teams. Previously, we had only customer meetings online, but now we had to take a simple internal call, a SIM card online because we cannot meet in person. And we had a lot of technical issues, technical network issues from ISVs that we have ISPs. And out of 100 words, if we hear in a meeting, most of the time we hear is that, can you see my screen? Can you hear me? Are you there? Like kind of a lot of difficulties we have to go through during this period. And even the peer testing that we did with the developers, we had to do it online. And most of the teams had issues with accessing test environments, test devices from home locations, specifically when your applications are hosted on-premise. Deployments over domestic, we had to do the deployments over domestic broadband connections we have. So we had working from home option available in our companies, but working for a long period of time as working from that everyone is working from home is not something that we used to. And handling team remotely and continue the day-to-day work for the leads were kind of a nightmare at the beginning. And the second thing is, the second challenge we had was the demand from the customers. So we have, though we have a pandemic, the customer demands will not be reduced. So we have to make sure that we deliver the stuff without making an impact to them. And the third one is, every member had kind of a more unsettled, unsecure about their future, because we never knew what will happen tomorrow, whether this will lead to a recession, whether there will be customer bankrupt, whether the team had to continue the deliveries with the same velocities, maybe even more with the situation. So now what we would like to know is that there are so many challenges that most of the teams had to go through. When it comes to the QA teams, we would like to know about how it impacted on your teams, specifically on QA teams of your organization. So if I start with Janith, what you can mention about how your QA teams got impacted and how you guys got managed to work?
Yeah, actually, from our experience, Tharindra, do you hear me? Sounds is
yes,
okay?
yeah, we can hear you.
Right, okay. Yeah, so based on our experience, I mean, if you take our company, anyway, we have the policy where we can work from home. But the question was like, the entire company is going to the mode of working from home. So in a situation like that, the communication, collaboration was very challenged. And also, as testers, we have faced some problems with our test environments. As you know that, if I'll generalize some of these comments now. If you have a test environment where it is tied up to a data center or a physical environment in your office, having a connection to that environment from home and do the respective testing is going to be really, really tough. At the same time, there are problems where we need to restart the machine, all other physical barriers that we need to overcome, because during the COVID period, it was not easy. So one of the things that I foresee going forward where we need to focus on is how we manage these test environments. We need to think of how you manage or get these environments into a location where you can freely access. If you want to restart the machine, you should have the freedom of doing it, whether you are in office or whether you are in home. So, like for example, taking your test data centers or test centers or test environments into the cloud. I would say that's one of the thing that we have done over the past years, and now you can see it is really helping us to sort out the problems that we had. And also with communication challenges and collaboration challenges, I think team chats and also voice calls are really, really important. Other than that, what we did was once in a while, we switched on the video and discussed certain matters, just to feel that you are working from same office or in a virtual environment. So likewise, there are different things that we did that helped us to overcome the problems that we have. So some of these things, about how you manage your test environments, how you manage your communication, how you manage your tools, and things like that. Tharindra.
Okay, cool. So what about you, Sisira? From your end, what would you like to share from your end? How you guys managed this situation? How your QA teams were able to face to this situation and continue their work from your end?
Okay, Tharindra. Hope you guys can hear me well.
Yes, though we could not see you, I think we can hear you well. I think you have a problem with the cam today, webcam.
Yeah. So you can see the challenges that we faced. Of course, we also had working from home or support any client from anywhere situation, but the scale that this happens, and so rapidly this went up to the whole team. On 16th of March, it was now declared that people have to work from home, and everyone didn't had all the necessary infrastructure as well, because some team members are not in their home, some team members are in boarding places. So and some people have not even taken all the communication equipment with them. So it became a bit of tough thing the first 2 weeks, because we had to fine tune the infrastructure, also support and make sure that the team members are organized in the manner that they can work. Also, some of the test infrastructure, which is available on premise, teams were not expecting to operate them without anyone in office. Some of the testing activities, people, our teams have taken, like, okay, someone will be there to do this, because we have 24/7 support, someone is there. But in this situation, even those people were not there, so it took some time to get people into office and do that. So we had that problem came in. Now today I can't share the video because of bandwidth constraint. Someone has blocked this for this. Last I think about 2 weeks ago we had the quality week. I was on video, but today we don't because of this fluctuating network quality. So one of the so those infrastructure challenges and our day-to-day process and practice challenges, because how we used to work, some of the teams and some QA members used to write down things in post-it note and have it in their around their desk somewhere. They post certain things. So some people have 30-40 post-it notes nicely placed around their workstation, so that they can either remove or when they complete. But now suddenly their post-it notes are gone, so they have to start all over again. So things like that, how the process. So we had to move into the process side, and then also some of the technical knowledge, because some of the QA members were relying on either another team member or another DevOps or development engineer to do certain tasks. So that's how certain teams, certain things have been arranged. So those people have to learn certain, especially deployment related, how to troubleshoot a deployment and how to troubleshoot some tests that ran overnight. Those became a challenge. And when we got into this lockdown situation, we had scheduled a lot of interviews to hire few people, and there were few people to start in office. And though we have done remote interviews for some people, that was one-off, or thing like for a year we might do 1 or 2 interviews like that. But anyway, we do a final interview face to face before we take the decision. Now in this situation, we had to switch to video interviews, and of course we were not prepared for it, even because if it's a corporate when we are doing an interview earlier, if we need corporate infrastructure use, we have the conferencing system in office where we can connect to external. But now then people have to use their phones and WhatsApp and all that, various things to do that. And another biggest challenge where we have never done before is onboarding someone virtually. That we have never recruited a guy, a fresh grad or an experienced person to our QA team remotely. So we had to do that as well. So, and initially we couldn't even send a laptop to them, so they have to connect to our virtual desktop environments, and then we have to use WebEx or some form of a mechanism to teach them how to get on board. So those challenges, and somehow we overcome them by getting into various things, like sometimes recording certain training programs, or sometimes doing it completely on video, and using a lot of WhatsApp and Skype kind of thing. So that's how we managed the situation, and some of the things are still ongoing.
Thank you very much, Janith and Sisira, for your insights and basically sharing the way that you handle the situation. So there is one question raised from the audience, which is related to the communication. So, but the question is as follows: unlike meetings and talking to people face to face, when having meetings virtually, it is hard to understand others' mood and situation, which could lead to misunderstanding and disappointments, because we are not much used to how, because sometimes we are not used to how their facial expressions are sometimes. How could this be handled in a situation like this, when you are going to deal with the other parties over on online video conference? How do you guys did it, and any suggestions for the teams for this? Basically, I didn't understanding the situation of the other people, and how whether they understood it and the moods, basically. If I start from Janith.
Yeah, Tharindra, I think it's a very valid question, and because we are so used to do meetings physically, understand each other, so it made our life easier. If we look at the bigger picture as a one global community, I would say that the future is like, if you want to contact somebody who is in other side of the world, then definitely it will be just like a normal call that we have. So I think that will be the new normal. So in a situation like that, what I would suggest is that if you know a person before, like you were with him or her in a meeting before, or maybe you know a colleague from your office, you had the interactions before, then I think just having a voice call would be enough. But the problem for me, what I believe is the problem will start when you start working with an unknown person straight away over a voice call like this. I would suggest it is like, if it is possible, try to have that with a video call, and try to have a face-to-face call, just like what we are trying to do. So that you can see the facial expressions, how they try to pass their message and stuff like that. The second thing I would suggest is that since we are not sure about the content that you passed, follow it up with a mail saying that, okay, these are things that we discussed during the meeting, and these are the conclusions, action items, and put it to all the people who were in the meeting. Maybe if they are not comfortable talking in the meeting, they might write back saying that this is not what I agreed. So that will the follow-up meeting minutes or email would help us to continue the discussion. Anyway, this problem will be there, so we need to find out ways that we can understand someone else's feeling, and then we need to work with that. So in summary, if you know the person, voice call would help, but once in a while you can have a video call as well, just to get comfortable with. If you are dealing with a new person, then start with a video call will be useful, and then follow it up with meeting minutes or any discussion points that you want to as a summary, so that everybody can be in the same page.
Yeah, thank you very much, Janith, for those insights that you shared. I will take one more question raised from the guys. So that this is over to you, Sisira. So this question is about, so basically, if working from home becomes a part of the new normal, that that most of the people are now, they really love to work from home, some guys, because you are used to it now, because it feels convenient when it comes to the transportation, commuting and everything. Do you think, how do you think that we need to do the quality engineering change? How we should do the quality engineering change under this situation?
So I think the way it is going now, obviously most of you have we have seen that people do a lot of remote work in various these different websites. They take Odesk or things like that. That there are people get work remotely and do that. And however, those things were organized like that, and most of the challenge that we had was that where we have organized in a way that to work in an office and do the work, but now moving to this working from home situation. So in this the things that QA teams or the QA professionals need to understand, learn or adapt to is that first thing is the clear communication. Sometimes if you used to nod and say yes, I'll do that, now it's not going to work. So you have to clearly say yes, I'm going to do that, and by this time, and like that. So you have to clearly communicate what you're going to do, how we are going to do, and also you need to clearly get answers for your question. So your clear communication skills, it's not purely the language skills, but how do you communicate what you communicate, whether you put down things in point form. Because earlier when you get a long email that with multiple paragraphs, sometimes you tend to go to the person and ask, okay, you have sent all these things, can you summarize, or shall we have a chat and discuss? But now it's not possible. So in such situations, how do you put down the points, like break down the points and send it over? And also the technical side of it, that getting to know about your deployments, building the code and deploying, learning how to read error messages and drill down as to where the problems are. Those type of things will be very important, and plus some of the automation work, because when you have in some situations, some people are just seated next to the servers or devices, because some people might have used device, set of devices to test something. Now they can't sit next to the devices and do that. So then you may need to do a lot of automation work, might be using RPA or something like that. So those things will, you have to get on to those things. So if working from home becomes the new norm, that's where things has to change. So there will be a lot of opportunities for people who can do good communication and learn technical stuff quickly to get on to the situation fast. And the people who have not, given those things a good attention should start to give them some attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sisira. Yeah, so with that, we will be moving to the next section. So now it has been, I think, more than 3 months that we have started working from home with a better control of the current situation. Gradually, now we are opening back our offices and employees are started to work from office again. But you will see a clear difference that the things and the procedures that you will see that you need to wear a mask. You need to go through a proper sanitization process before coming to office. Your body temperature will be checked. You need to maintain a social distance at office, and you should be more careful about the places that you visit and the people that you hang around. In the same way, the role and the responsibilities of QA also has been changed. You may see that you need to be more, you need to have more capability of working on cloud environments, that you should be capable of deploying the code that you test. Most of the customers are now onboarding with online applications, not like before that. You see that a lot of people, customers are getting onboarded with a lot of online application, and with the digitization like online shopping, e-learning. So you need to focus more into non-functional aspects of the application as well, because not like before. Then my question is, how important it is to be a technical QA under this new normal? How will the test automation, performance testing, security testing, and user experience will play a role in this situation? So this question is over to you, Janith. So we would like to know, what do you think? How does these non-functional aspects and the test automation, the UI UX aspects will play a role in this situation?
Yeah, Tharindra, I think it's a very good question. So I think we were talking about people needs to be technical, the technical QVs and stuff like that. And with this change, how the quality engineering will change, and so that how we can be more technical, or what sort of skills, right, that we need to focus on as a QE on the non-technical aspects, or rather non-functional aspects. But I would say, Tharindra, I would like to say we shouldn't call them as non-functional, because it's functional, right? There's nothing called non-functional right now. Even if you want to log in and do a transaction within 3 seconds, 5 seconds, that is a functional need, not the performance need. Actually, I mean, it's not non-functional need; it's a functional need. So I'll say there's nothing like functional, non-functional right now. It's functional. Everything is a functional that we need to focus on. If you look at this aspect, I would say there are with this COVID situation, as you clearly explained, we are digitalization, right? We are going into digitalization. We were going, but now it has fast tracked every organization. IT or non-IT, every organization is going into this non-technical, digitalization. With that, what will happen is, from a small kid to a very old person who will be using this digitalized platform. So as a person, we need to understand that horizon, because previously we were able to focus on specific segment and target our application and build that application for those people. Now it's not the case. If, for example, when you're talking about online shopping, everybody's trying to buy something online because they can't visit a store. And when you are staying home, one of the therapies is doing shopping, right? So they try to do a lot of shopping so that everybody who is in different age, different skill set, they are trying to use these applications. So you need to understand that functionality, use experience, right? So you need to understand like what sort of functionality that we need to have in our application, and then we need to think about that aspect when we are doing testing as well. Another thing is that even though we are talking about only digitalization, but now we go out, we try to sort of focus on doing certain transactions. So when you are having a POS system, for example, you need to understand and you need to think about when you are developing and testing a POS system, how you can go contactless, right? You can't have contacts where that's a mode of transferring these diseases. So you need to think about how you build the application where it is contactless, so that user experience is better, so that we are supporting the course of the current situation, and also how we test it. And another area that we can think about is something like this. You walk into a restaurant, right? In a restaurant, now what's your normal process? You go and try to order something. By looking at them, first you look at the menu and you order something and stuff like that. So there, how you can make a digital menu where you can reduce the contact. So likewise, we need to understand how our applications are changing due to these situations. So all these things are functionality. So how a digital menu works, how you can order something, how you can pay back. So likewise, you need to think about those aspects. At the same time, again, coming back to the previous one where you try to do a lot of shopping, what has happened is all of a sudden your traffic to a specific site has gone up. So you need to understand what is the performance benchmark we need to do. What is our load testing? What is our spike testing that we need to focus on? How much? What's the stress that a system can handle? So we need to think about these functionality. We need to understand these different cases based on this change. Another aspect that I would like to touch upon again is this is not a typical testing, but this is the infrastructure of the testing. For example, if a company decides to go to production, take your the physical test environment into a cloud solution, how you test in a cloud solution? What is AWS? How you deal with AWS? And then if you bring your load or performance testing framework into cloud solution, how you work with load generators? Because if you can have load generators, but if you're for example, if the load generators are available 24/7, the cost is high. Then how you can manage these availabilities? So likewise, there are from the framework level also we need to platform level also we need to understand certain things how we need to focus on. And another aspect is that since a lot of things are digitalized, there could be problems in our production environment. So we need to have proper CI/CD implemented. So we need to understand how CI/CD works within CI/CD, how we can plan the testing. That is also another aspect that we need to think of. So in this CI/CD context, another aspect I would really like to emphasize is about making sure that we try to adhere test pyramid. The reason for that is if you have CI/CD implemented and you have a UI suite of 1,000 test cases, going to production for a bug fix is taking time. But if you have test pyramid implemented properly, so that you have unit level and then the integration level and the small part of UI level, you can go to production faster, so you can fix production issues very much faster. And another aspect is that when you are having like we are used to do testing, we get the development, we are testing and stuff like that with the CI/CD and DevOps practices, because those things are really in demand. So we need to understand how DevOps work, how CI/CD work in technical terms, how we define, for example, CI/CD and put a quality gate. What are our quality gates in a CI/CD pipeline? So conceptually also we need to understand that. Tharindra, a quick time check.
Yeah, we have 1 minute left, Janith.
Okay, right. So then I'll summarize the answer to the question. What I see, what has happened as QA engineers, we need to focus on certain areas. We need to understand the new needs for the applications, and we need to understand and we need to come up with the ways how we're going to test those things. How to test a contactless approach, and how you test user experience, how you make sure that your testing is around those areas, for example. And then we need to understand performance requirements, the stress requirements, and all these things. And another aspect from the technical perspective, how we work in a cloud environment and how we plan our testing. And for that, we need to understand the cloud platform. So it's important we understand the basics of cloud platforms, how it works, what AWS is, what's our infrastructure in AWS, how we can plan our load testing, how we can plan our performance testing. If you can do that, that will be really useful as a QA engineer as well. So that's another area that we need to focus on. And other aspect is about CI/CD, having test pyramid in place. So how you implement CI/CD, how you have a dialogue with a developer and try to see whether we can cover a test case at unit level, or whether it is an integration level test case, or it's an API level test case, or UI level test case. Likewise, we need to understand test pyramid, try to implement. So a lot of new functionalities that we need to test with this era. So we need to master those things, and some technical things like performance, AWS, load testing, these new tools, new frameworks, and CI/CD, all these things. I would say that these will be the new key things that we need to learn if we don't have the experience right now for us to prepare for the future, especially after this COVID era.
Thank you, Janith. So I will also agree that it's not like that others will prepare your test environment and you just happily go and sit and do your testing. It's like get your environment, do your deployment, test yourself. So kind of a situation that we have to come across. So just lead to one question from the audience. So I will be putting it to you, Janith, since we talked about performance and security. Sure. During the COVID pandemic, a lot of hacking and phishing attacks and such attempts were observed. You know that the people used to do online shopping and all. QA shouldn't, as QAs, shouldn't we take this as serious concern, and how can we make sure that we cover it in the process? Shouldn't we take this as a serious concern, and how can we make sure that we can get into the process of QA?
Yeah, I think security with the digitalization, security concerns are going up. One of the thing is that our users are not aware of these security concerns, or these the way that people are getting hacked and stuff like that. So there is a problem there as well. From the QA perspective for the process, I would say that we need to start building the security practices from the requirement level onwards. It's not just like static code analyzing or dynamic or a penetration testing. I would say that if you look at the requirement of, for example, let's say a login. From the login itself, when you are trying to test something, you can have some test cases where you cover the security aspect of that functionality. Like if you see that, for example, you have a login where you don't have, it's a web application, you can check whether your passwords are encrypted when you're passing, or whether you can you need to, like, whether you have the proper security protocols follows. So those are type of test cases that we can write. You don't need, like, do a static code analysis or dynamic code analysis or penetration testing. So I would say that when you're looking at the requirement initially or in a story, we need to question now. If you look at few years back, we were question about what are the functionalities, what are the negative scenarios, what are the positive scenarios, or sad, mad, or question, the things like that. Then we talked about performance requirements as well, along with the functionality. Likewise, when we get the user story, we need to question as a QE, what are the security measures that we need to think of? What are the security coverage that we need to think of for a specific story? So for a specific requirement, I would say that from that point onwards, we can start thinking about security and embedded the security into the process. So you have functional testing done, and then the next step would be we have code analyzers, right? We can simply implement a tool into the CI/CD pipeline where once a developer is checked in the code, it runs that new code and it gives you all the vulnerabilities that you have. So you can implement then the code analyzers, and based on your application, you can decide whether you want a dynamic dynamic analysis to be done, and also you can decide whether you want a penetration testing as well. And another aspect is that if it is a brand new application, from the architectural level, we need to think about the security. So from the requirement until it is delivered to production, we need to think about security, just like we thought about functional or performance requirements in a requirement or in a user story. Hope that I answered the question, Tharindra.
Yes, Janith, thanks a lot. And meanwhile, guys, I would like to remind you that you can still post questions, and we can take one by one out of them and raise it and get them clarified. So, this is kind of an interesting question, so I would like to take this to Sisira actually. So this is I would say that I would repeat the exact question that was raised. So now it feels like we are overworking. Most of the people expect us to be available any given time as we are at working from home. So I think this is something we also have seen that, that when it comes to office, so that after 6:30 you will be traveling back home and you will be at home. So we tend to not disturb. But now most of the people are working from home. As QA team members, sometimes they get annoyed because their leads are getting their support then no matter what time it is. So they have to support provide the support. So the question is, Sisira, how as leads and how as team members we can control this situation and what we can do?
Right. It's I think most of the people complain about this situation. However, it's how the individuals manage it, because if you start to reply to your emails all the time, and of course some people may say that, okay, we have to do work-life integration. That's how people were talking about prior to COVID pandemic. So people wanted to do work from anywhere, work at any time and the way they wish. But now people are realizing that that's also not really manageable. So I think QA engineers needs to make sure that of course that if you have taken up something, then you have to deliver it as you promised. However, if you are not going to be in office or not going to be at work at that particular time, then how do you make yourself available, right? Because if you keep your email on and if you keep your chat on, and if you are doing it with your personal chat and your official, everything is same, then you will get into this problem. Because earlier the people who want to get this work-life integration, they got it, but there were people who were keeping the distance, who were not responding or asking anything after office hours. But now those people have also started to do that. So if everyone starts to do that, then it goes in that direction. So one of the good thing that you can do is it is related to the previous question that Janith answered. Janith looked at about the system under test perspective on the security, but also from the organization and your client security, that using the same devices, that if you are most of the time that you get organization, when you are working for an organization, unless you are a freelancer, you work on equipment provided by the organization. So use them only for the organizational work, and then you log in at a particular time, right? So if your company, or if you were working earlier from 9 to 6, then log in at 9 and log off at 6, and take your breaks. And it's very important to go on to your routine, that say if you don't normally when we were in office, we don't need to block the lunch time, because everyone knows that, okay, this time people were going to lunch. And now I see that people now look at your calendar, and if 12 to 1 is free, that they put something to be discussed, or if you want to discussion or something like that. So block your time. So if you plan it out, say if you start at 9 and 9 to 9:30, you want to plan out your day, block it in your calendar. And if you want to block out your lunch time, block it out. And even on your calendars, that make sure that you put the available times. And in chat and all that, if you are using any chat programs, make sure that you are, say, busy or offline, rather than keeping online. And also maintaining your personal and official communication channels separately would be helpful, so that you don't need to check official mail all the time, and or the chat or other communication mechanism, and the other way around as well, so that you're not relying on that. And from the security perspective, also it is good, because sometimes when you start tend to work from home, that if you want to transfer a log file or a screenshot or something like that, or to transfer files or source code, sometimes, because if your organization has not put in restrictions, sometimes it may be possible, but it should not be done, because there are a lot of people looking for traces of information to get into organizations. So be careful on those aspects as well. So if you keep your thing separate, I think that's the thing that you can do, and make sure that if someone asks, politely say that I'm not available at this time, or I have my personal stuff to attend. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion, Sisira, because even we had this situation where once we started working from home, the people were so happy because they don't have any work time restrictions, so that they can leisurely do the missing work at night. But over the time, when it goes 2 or 3 weeks, then people felt, okay, I'm overworking, so I don't have a limit. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to have a tea. So sometimes we are just thinking, when we were working at office, we had the time to have lunch, but now sometimes we feel, okay, I missed my lunch today because it's not the time to have it now. So as you said, sometimes we also had to put restrictions on the team that, okay, if you are starting by 9, you can say, okay, I'm starting my work, good morning, I'm starting. And by 6:30, you can say, okay, I'm off for the day. So likewise, so we had to put the people on some restrictions, otherwise their moral or their kind of the enthusiasm for the work will be lost, as they're getting a lot of work over during the weekdays. So the last point that we are going to discuss is about the emerging trends. So there's a kind of a joke getting shared among WhatsApp chats. So that's something I would like to share with you. So there's a kind of a multiple answer question being shared, that is saying that asking who is the leading force in the workplace digital transformation. So the answers are CEO, CTO, COO, or COVID-19. So you know that we had seen that COVID has made everything upside down. That all the customer feature requests, their strategies got reprioritized, and some features got some of the features get deprioritized that which we never thought that will come to the board very soon. The kids who are running to the private classes are now attending online classes. People who love doing shopping now doing online shopping. And virtual reality is playing a major role now, like virtual family gatherings, virtual choirs, virtual music gatherings. And you see that everything is getting digitalized, and a lot of applications, concepts, platforms are being built to cater to these requirements. So the question is over to you, Sisira. With these drastic changes that we see during these days, the new concepts and new out-of-box thinking and a lot of applications that we never thought of that will come in place, some kind of ideas that we laughed at actually became reality. So what are the emerging trends in the QA industry in the post-COVID era under this situation? This is for you, Sisira.
Okay. So still I don't think we can say post-COVID in the global context. We are still in the we are still going up in the numbers and the infection rates and all that. So in this era, the trends, if you look at it, the most of the so far I have not seen anything completely new that came up. That most of these things that we had, only thing that we embraced them, in a large scale, because this remote working, remote deployments, all that we had with us, and scale of embracing them has gone up. And also this work-life integration, some people wanted it, some people said that work-life has to be separated out. Those debates, everything was there. I think the most important thing that I think that came up is that earlier we had a scenario where if we have a problem, talk to one another, or meet the guy and talk to him and sort out the problem. That's something that we said, but now that cannot be done. In office, if some people are fighting over a mail, what we used to say is, okay, why don't you go to one meeting room and sort it out? But now that cannot be done. So people tend to, a trend I see is that, okay, even a difficult situation, people are learning how to manage it, remotely. So the communication skills and tools will be used for that. So that's one of the trend I can see. And the others, like if you look at the job that we perform as a software testing or software quality professional, then the skill levels and how you do it, a lot more automation may be required, because when you connect remotely and try to do certain things like deployment or some testing, if you are doing it manually, it takes long time. It's with the slow links and all that, it's difficult. So it's better if you can do the automation and let automation do the work. And so for that you need to learn more skills, so that becoming technical, becoming more better and proactive communicators are the things that I see. And obviously something that we didn't have before that is coming into the picture is virtual onboarding and virtual candidate selection, even in the local context. Earlier we used to do that for foreign candidates, but now even for the local. So those are the things that I see that is happening at the moment, and hopefully we should be able to see a post-COVID era soon.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, Sisira, I will ask one more question from you, which is got raised by the audience. That is, how's the job security of a QA engineer or someone who's looking to join the field of QA? Do you think there will be enough openings versus the number of fresh graduates who are coming out of the universities?
To be honest, the number of opportunities that we have in terms of the industry is not going to go up for some time. That's something that we see because there's not much of expansion in all the areas like before. There are some areas that is expanding, especially communication, project management tools and things like that. More teleworking tools are, yes, they are working, they are growing. But other stuff, yes, there's a challenge. So I think the important thing for people to do is to be multi-skilled and take your career into your own hands. Because if you think that, okay, this is what I want to do, these are the skills that I want, and these are the things that I like to do and work on it, then there will be a value. Because even today, if you are a great artist, you may be able to sell your art. Even if you are a great musician, you can still sell your music pieces or whatever the things that you do. So even if you are a writer, you can do. So similarly, if you are a good tester, if you learn things well, then I think that's the only security that you will have. So that your capability will be your security. Of course, there are companies that for example, if you are working for an energy company or healthcare industry, definitely things will go on as is. But all the other industries, it is not that it is a doom and gloom situation, but the growth rate will be slow, and everyone will be taking very cautious steps. They will think twice before hiring people or expanding teams. So with that, and because that we have to do remote onboarding, remote training, remote selections, newcomers, unless they are really good in communicating and showing their work, if they don't have any practical stuff done that you can refer to, say that, okay, look, this is the particular system that I developed, this is what I did. And if they don't have things like that, they will be at a disadvantageous position because someone who has done it will get the chance over there. So that's something. But if you are working on something and if you are currently having something, try to sharpen your skills so that because there will be opportunities opening up in areas where it is good. Even in news broadcasters, that some are growing. Some that's the that I guess.
So yeah. So what you mean to say is that not just having one specialized area, not having one specialized area, you can be kind of multi-dimensional kind of talented, basically, like a T-shaped member.
Yes.
Yeah, you have your depth knowledge in QA, but you have some knowledge on other areas as well. That not kind of I-shaped, a T-shaped person. Thank you very much, Sisira. So the last question is for Janith. As leaders of QA, what new skills and capabilities would you look into when recruiting a new QA engineer now? So as an example, assume that you're going to hire some new QA engineers under this situation, with this pandemic situation. What kind of skills, the non-technical, the technical, other capabilities, what kind of things that you would like to look for when you're hiring the engineers?
So Tharindra, I would say, I mean, some of these skills are not new skills or new things to learn. I would say these are already, the need was there, or the skill need was there. But what I would like to say that emphasis on these skills are more now with the needs. Now, for example, the capacity, the competency of coding, the ability to do some or give some solution using a code or a language like maybe Java or something like that is important. For example, automation is in high demand. So when you are having a discussion with a developer to discuss whether a test case can be covered at unit level or API level or UI level, you need to understand the coding as well. So I would say definitely exposure to coding or ability to code and conceptual knowledge of a programming language is important. Definitely, I will look into that because we don't know whether it will be Selenium or something else or some other solution. We might need the conceptual knowledge there, and also I would like to see the ability to do performance engineering, security, and also the conceptual knowledge of these things. For example, how you how you do a performance testing for a specific application, and when it comes to performance engineering, what are the core things that we need to know? Likewise, those are the areas that definitely I will look into. And another area would be definitely ability to understand the quality based on the customer needs. Now, in a situation like this, we have different customer needs. So when you are doing some testing, you need to understand the customer need, and you should be able to convert that need into a test case and test it, and how you test it. So ability or logical mind of converting that requirement into a testable solution is another area that I would definitely like to see. From non-QA related stuff, I would say the point that Sisira brought in, the communication. It's not the language, it's about conveying the message over a voice call when you don't see the emotions of someone else. How you do that, how you convey that message in a virtual space, virtual working space, and ability to do a presentation and be precise about what you want to talk about in a specific environment. For example, if you are in a customer call to understand the requirement along with a BA, you should be able to do that the communication or discussion properly. So definitely communication, presentation skills, ability to understand the situation. So those are the things definitely it will useful in the new way of working in, or I would say the virtual working space. Yeah. So yes, Tharindra. Very briefly, those are the few things that I will look into. If you have anything to and if you want anything to explain it further, I'm happy to do that. So
yeah, nice. Thank you very much, Janith. Yes, let me check whether we have any more questions. I guess we do not have any further questions, Tamal, do we?
Yeah.
No, yeah, okay, cool. So, yeah, so those are the questions actually came from the audience. So to conclude all what we have discussed, so I would like Janith to summarize on what we have discussed for the people who are in the industry, what they need to be groomed and all how to be prepared, kind of a summarizing what we have said for the guys who are already in this industry. And Sisira, we would like to like you to say what we would like to know what you like to say to the new entrants, because we have some guys, university students and some university lecturers joined. So from Sisira's side, we would like to know what you would like to tell to the new entrants to the QA industry, the university students, the university lecturers, how should they be prepared in the areas that they should be focused on? So if I start with Sisira, we will first start with Sisira for the guys who are joining, maybe summarize the discussion.
So, yeah, I think during this time, of course, if you are a student, you will have much more time. So learn about the software engineering methodologies, technologies, and do a project, do something. It doesn't matter even if it has been done by so many people. Say, for example, even if you do a system for university library, that if you write your own code on your own way, and if you write your own test cases, and if you wrote it on your own, and if you do something, and if you have the code in GitHub or somewhere to show directly, and if you can share it, because if you do something and then you can freely share it with anyone to take it, and do things like that, and also contribute to open source projects, and those things will help you to get into the industry and show that you can do something and you have done something. And of course, if you do first project might not be a good one, second project, and if you have done multiple, then you can show how you have progressed, what you have learned in the first one, and then because I learned this, I did this in the second one. So those type of things will help you more to get on to a job and get into the industry. So that's what I think in simple short answer.
Yeah, from Janith's end, for the guys who are in the industry.
Yeah, I think if you look at the current situation, I would say that two main areas that we need to focus on, that is how we are working in a situation like that, and because of this change, how our products are changing. And when a product is changing based on a situation or a need, we need to understand what sort of quality characteristics that we need to focus on. And once we identify the characteristics such as performance, maintainability, or reliability, whatever it is, then we need to plan how we test that. So I think it's something that we need to start thinking. And if you can, as a QE engineer or a person who is in quality, if you can think about that aspect, it will definitely add values, and it will reduce a lot of defects or dissatisfaction from the customers or users of your application. So in high level, what I talked about during the session, think about how we need to work, how using our soft skills, how we need to change in the current situation, and the product that we are testing. What are the quality characteristics that we need to focus on with the new need? So if we can focus on those two areas, you can clearly see that where we need to focus on. If, for example, where you are working on, we are not doing any performance testing for a e-commerce application, as a quality professional, go and talk about it, build your case and showcase that the benefits. For example, make sure that you have production monitoring for your application, right? That's where you observe the monitoring. So you can get that stat and tell that, okay, see, you have a bounce rate of this much, and your stats about customer retention. So you can build a case and say that where we need to focus on. So likewise, you need, because I believe as a quality professional, we are the ambassadors of quality. So we need to drive the quality. So even if somebody comes and tells us that performance is not needed, you can build a case and showcase that this is in, because at the end of the day, we are the experts of the team for quality. So we need to drive the quality for a team. So try to understand the current situation, and then plan your testing, plan your strategies, build your frameworks, build your tools, build your test cases, test designs, and then try to deliver a product where customers can be very happy about your product.
Thank you very much, Janith, for those insights that you shared. So with that, I think we have come to the end of the program where we can conclude. So we discussed about how the role of the QA will be changed in post-COVID era and how we should change the way we work and the technical and non-technical skills we should have, and how the new entrants be prepared for the situation and how they can come into the industry. So first of all, I would like to thank our panelists, Janith and Sisira, both of you. Thanks a lot for joining us amidst a lot of work. So you didn't say no to us, so you just joined us to share your knowledge. Thanks a lot, Sisira and Janith, for dedicating your time for this session to enlighten the industry. And I would like to offer my heartiest thanks to the CQC team, Colombo Quality Camp's team, who are organizing a lot of events. And I would like to invite all of you to join with us in our Facebook page, where you can get to know about the new events that we are going to do. So simply, we are available on Facebook and YouTube, LinkedIn and Instagram. You can follow us and you can get notified about the new programs that what I was telling is that if you guys have anything to share with the community, you guys can talk to us. We are really happy to provide a platform for you to discuss the matters. So if you have anything that you would like to share with the community, just buzz one of our team members via Facebook page or any medium that I mentioned. And you can basically share your ideas and get a platform for that. So I think with that we can wrap up. And thanks a lot for being a wonderful audience throughout the session. And hope to see you all in another interesting session soon. We will keep you updated. Thanks a lot, guys, again, Sisira and Janith and the crew. See you again soon. Thank you very much, then. Good night, guys.
Thanks, Tharindra. Thanks all.
Thanks,
Good night all.
Tharindra, for organizing.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.